the recording? All right, I'm going to share my screen. We are a small group. I do try to keep WealthyU to small groups. The idea being that please, at any time, raise your hand, speak, ask a question, anything you like at any time. I try to make it as interactive as possible. So this is what we call WealthyU Live Coach Training Program. As you noticed, Kathy, the U looks like a University American U. The idea is to really, educate you all. I've been working workplace wellness for 20 years now. So I've done a lot that I think I can hand over to you and you can run with. The program is 4 Thursdays. We're on week 3. Week 1 was my stress, my food, what's the link? Again, we're going in the workplace, not just to talk to them about nutrition, but to help them understand how nutrition affects their stress and their resilience. That speaks to them. And that's what we did week 1. Week 2, my body, my sleep, time to wake up. Also, there we spoke about physical exercise and sleep. And we also related them to week 1, to how that can affect your food choices. This week, week 3, I named it My Purpose, Full Alignment, Resilience That Lasts. And next week is a real coaching week, proposals, pricing, options, and rollout. And week 4, everyone will walk away with week 4 slide decks and Word documents, etc., that I can provide to you. So this purposeful alignment, resilience that lasts. This is often a piece that's missing in health coaching in the workplace because people go in and they do health coaching, nutrition, activity, and sleep. Makes sense. But I look at them as 4 different dimensions, and I feel like the resilience in the middle here is what holds it together. So in the upper, we've got the nutrition, the upper left-hand corner, we've got the physical activity, the sleep, the mindfulness, but it's the purpose that actually pulls it all together. Today, I want you to discover what we call spirituality, purpose, alignment. By the way, the word spirituality does not go over well in the workplace. They think you're talking about meditation or religion, and you will see we are absolutely not talking about meditation and religion. Why it matters, what is mindfulness, what is ikigai, values and strengths, gratitude, appreciation versus recognition, and moving forward with all of this. So far, so good? Cool. All right. Tell me, friends, and you can just open your mic. We don't have to use the chat box. Tell me, what is spiritual well-being? Who would like to take a shot at that one?
I would take.
Go
I would
for it.
say anything that brings you in alignment, like to look within. It can be any kind of, it can be playing music, it can be meditation. It doesn't have to be necessarily one specific activity, but something that brings you kind of to look inside.
Great answer. Great answer. Who would like to add to what Hanae has offered us? Kathy.
I can do that. I agree with what she said. I was thinking also that it's really rediscovering, who am I and who do I want to be? Mm-hmm. I know for me personally, when I worked in the corporate world, it was easy to lose track of that. Mm-hmm. And then I would be making decisions that ended up making me less happy, more stressed. And I couldn't do the things I wanted to do to take care of my nutrition, my sleep, my physical activity. So I think it's taking that point about, who am I? Who do I want to be? How do I do that?
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. What do you guys think? Anything to add to that? You've really tied the knot, literally, Kathy, linking it to the workplace. And by the way, this is for all of you. As you present spiritual well-being or purpose to the workplace, this word is very fuzzy for them. So I highly suggest you reflect on the Great Resignation. And why are people resigning? The reason people are resigning is because there is this misalignment that both Hanae and Kathy spoke about. So it's really clear, actually. Spiritual well-being is the ability to experience and integrate meaning and purpose in life through a person's connectedness with self, as you said, Hanai, art, music, literature, nature, or a power greater than one's self. So this is where we're beginning, spiritual well-being. To be spiritually well will mean a positive engagement with others, self, and our environment. It's really interesting the way those two paragraphs, like the first paragraph is what Hanai said, and the second one is what Kathy said. So we're completely aligned, unique to each person. So workplace spirituality, and this is a great link. This gives you your business case. 70% of employees say that their sense of purpose is largely defined by work. That's a report from McKinsey. Meaning, value, and motivation in one's work beyond paychecks and performance. This is really about the self. We're seeing a lot of this in the millennial generation. They insist upon this today. A sense of oneness and togetherness in the job and in the organization. And you'll see this later on when we bring it to the workplace. It's not just about what you're doing. Like you might, I'm just going to take a silly example. Maybe you work at McDonald's and you really love being with the clients and being at the register and counting your money and being with the clients, but you hate the product you sell, right? So you're aligned with your job, but you're not aligned with your workplace or your employer. And they're both very important in this case. Why does it matter? Each one of these is a link to peer-reviewed work that will give you the business case for this. Purpose and identification with one's purpose improves overall well-being. These are all click-throughs, once again. Productivity, absenteeism, motivation and commitment, job satisfaction, employee morale, workplace stress, employee burnout, employee turnover, work performance, and quality of life. So this is the slide that you're going to be showing to the manager to whom you want to deliver this work or for whom you want to pitch your work. Again, in the decks, these are all linked with hyperlinks. You've got your business case. All right, we're in the workplace. This is super interesting. Perhaps today we're actually pursuing spirituality more than ever. Some people, it's an organized religion. For others, it's non-religious, it's quiet time. Very interestingly, the percentage of religious adults in modern countries is going down, where it's staying the same in lower privileged countries. Yet meditation has tripled since 2012. Yoga has increased 50% in the US and 413% in Japan. Isn't that interesting? Spirituality is not based on rules, but on individual values, choices, and growth. Again, these statistics are based on a book. In fact, the book that I published at the end of last year. So this is research that I've done, and I find this quite fascinating. So when we start bringing in this to the workplace, it starts becoming very important to the managers. They see the reason that we need this. So at this point, we're just setting the scene for our workshop. I always start every workshop with a little stop, and I'm not going to take the time to go through it today because we have a big slide deck to walk through and talk about. But typically, this is really important to do in this particular workshop. I'm just going to ask the people, Nicole, Kathy, or Sutteris, do you know what this STOP stands for? Do you use this acronym in any of your work by any chance?
I do not. Yeah, I used it before, but I think on a similar way, a similar definition, but a different way of saying it.
Could be. Nicole,
yeah.
do you have?
Yeah, it's the same meaning. It's the same meaning.
Perfect. Do you remember, Nicole? Were you going to say something?
No, I said I do not use it.
Okay. Okay, the STOP, and again, it might be the same acronym, such as it might not. Stop for a moment, take a breath and a break, observe what you feel so you can proceed and respond rather than react quickly. This is a little hint, and I've done this in every workshop. Before we start every workshop, I have everybody kind of focus get their feet on the floor, get grounded so we can move forward. This is a practice, again, you can all use in your workshops in the workplace because people don't do this at work. They're so busy throughout the day. And this is a great way to refocus on something, just this little stop. What I do like to do this week, and again, you could add this next slides to week 1 or week 2 as well. I tend to do them week 3 because again, the workplace, by now they're receptive to this, where we start talking about mindfulness. When you talk about nutrition, they all listen, they get it. When you talk about sleep, they all get it, they listen. When you talk about mindfulness, half of them go, that's not for me. But by week 3, when you've earned their confidence and their trust, they're going to listen to this. Again, you can play with this. This is where we talk about mindfulness because it breeds resilience. And this workshop is about resilience. It helps prevent setbacks from negative emotions, helps to cope better with difficult thoughts and emotions. It gives us more creativity, commitment, and collaboration, and it means greater resilience. So now I'm going to actually ask you a question. What's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Because every time I run this workshop, people think that I've spoken about mindfulness and that I'm speaking about meditation. So who would like to offer up what's the difference here? Does anybody know?
Sorry, I know.
Go for it. Go for it.
So meditation is more like the practice of, some people make the mistake that it's about putting your mind blankly, like not think about anything, but it's actually, well, there are certain methods of meditation, but mainly also like focusing, like in your inner self. And mindfulness is more, but meditation is a practice that you do closing your eyes or like still, right? Or there is actually also walking meditation stuff, but it's more like inward. And then mindfulness is more about like a daily thing that one can bring to their lives. It's more being aware of what one is doing in the moment, I would say, and do it with presence and with joy, or even if it's not joyful, still kind of be present, I would say.
Great words. Thank you, Hanai. Filiz.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say the same thing. I do different meditation practices, and one of them is mindfulness.
Okay. Did you all hear that? I do meditation practices. One is mindfulness. Okay.
Yes. Sometimes just focusing on something, or sometimes just walking, or sometimes just doing something and concentrating on whatever I'm doing. But in mindfulness, I mean, you focus on your thoughts, and it's non-judgmental.
Good word.
Awareness. I think it was the definition, and I'm trying to do it as well. Just following the thoughts, not trying to stop them. I think there's a misunderstanding among people. They think that it's just trying not to think about anything. So mindfulness is for me just following the thoughts and being aware of what's coming. Beautiful. And then letting them go.
Perfect. Beautiful. Who would like to add anything to that? Anything to add to that? Absolutely right. Let's see what's written. So mindfulness is awareness of something. Thank you, Filiz. Anytime. Anytime. Keep that in mind. Mindfulness. Awareness, anytime. Meditation, meditation is awareness of nothing. Hanai, thank you, at a specific time. Meditation is a form of mindfulness, but mindfulness is not necessarily meditation. When you show this slide to an executive, they all of a sudden jump on board. They get it. It's very simple. We found the words, but this makes it super clear. We are looking at mindfulness. Maybe for some it will be meditation, maybe it will not. And it's that mindfulness that breeds the resilience we spoke about in the slide previously. It's the mindfulness that we used last week when we spoke about recognizing that you're tired and you need to sleep, when we spoke about choosing your food, when we stopped to exercise and choose our exercise, when we talked about that. So we're using this in everything we do. The benefits of mindfulness beyond resilience, and again, the studies behind this are in the notes of each slide. You've got the business case and the links to where the data comes from. By the way, for everybody, whenever you present something, whether it's in a workplace or even if it's to a group, make sure that everything on your slides is well backed up by data. I've done it for you here, so you don't need to do it if you acquire the slides, but it's really important, especially in the workplace, that you have the right business case. We spoke about resilience, stress and anxiety, emotional health, self-awareness, attention, kindness, addictions, sleep, pain, blood pressure, age-related memory loss, and it's simple to practice anywhere. And typically what I would do at the beginning of this session is do a little bit of breathing. Again, you can choose any pieces to add or subtract from this, but I love to do a breathing exercise if I can. I don't do it week 1 and week 2. Again, people aren't usually receptive, but you could. And by the way, for Sotiris, Nicole, and Kathy, you'll see at the end of the slide deck, there's also a workbook for people to go home with so they can practice everything we've done during the week for all the participants so they can go on with it, because we're only there once. Though this could be a lead into your individual coaching as well, so you could move forward with that as well. By the way, these slides are great for individual coaching as well. Again, I'm not going to take the extra time to go through each slide, but at this point, we could do a breathing exercise. Why do we focus on breathing? Does anybody know? Does anybody have like a breathing practice in this group?
Hi.
Yeah.
I've used with my clients the 4-7-8 breathing practice, and I've used it with myself as well. And I think for me and for the people that I sense kind of need it, they need something that's fairly quick to learn to slow themselves down. And they don't know how to slow themselves down without some kind of quick structure. Mm-hmm. And it's not meditation, to your point, because that sort of gets people going in a certain direction. You know, that whole thought about, well, I couldn't possibly think about nothing, right? Exactly. They don't get it. So the 4-7-8 breathing, people have reacted really well to that, and they can do it. Once they know how to do it, they can do it anywhere, even in a meeting.
Look, it's my next slide. It's the slide. We're totally aligned. I agree with you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Does anybody else practice the breathing at any point with any clients, individual or group?
I actually do also that breathing technique. And then I have a meditation group, which we do like every Sunday, and they've been teaching us some breathing techniques, there's 1,000 of them. I don't remember them quite well, but one I know it's doing, like, for instance, 10 times, like, breathing in.
I have that in the workbook. I do 3. I do the 4-7-8, the one you're speaking about, and a third one. I'll show you it in the workbook afterwards. But in this session, clearly I would go through this slide, why focus on breathing? We might ask the audience to answer this. You see all these reasons. Again, don't forget, we're in this session, it's resilience and purpose. So we're trying to center people right at the beginning of the session of the webinar or the workshop. So we bring them into breathing. We speak about deep breathing, which can be done anywhere. We explain where and how. Breathing through the belly to engage the diaphragm, which is linked to the vagal nerve, which is linked to our stress mechanism. Again, this is in the slide notes. You can read that. And then we do a practice, Kathy. We do a 4-7-8, and it's a breathing release technique. And we have the steps here, 1 through 8. So again, depending on how long your webinar is, today we have 90 minutes, so I'm going fast. I'm not going a deep dive on each slide. I want you guys to start imagining, oh, how could I use this if I were going to do a workplace well-being workshop of some sort? And so we would do this and we would actually practice it once together. I never miss being surprised by how people love this, because they don't do it typically in their day. So very often it becomes a habit. We've got everybody centered, and typically now I would say, okay, we're all centered. How do you feel? And I might have them put it in the chat. We might have them open up their discussion. If it's a live session, we talk about it. People actually recognize that stop and that breathing actually has immediate effects. Kathy, I'm sure you can testimony to that you've had that experience with clients.
Yeah, and some of these same people that need the breathing exercise, they will also tell you they don't know what they feel.
Exactly.
So having them stop and breathe, we've all probably experienced this, where all of a sudden you have a moment where you're like, wow, my right hip is tight.
Yeah.
Or my shoulders are all tight.
Yeah.
And you just have adapted to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a coach, we have the right questions to work around that. How do you feel? And in fact, I don't think I included the slide this week. No, I didn't. But last week we have a slide on naming your emotions, naming how you feel. So week 1 and week 2, they might have practiced naming their emotions during the week. It was kind of an exercise we had them do, because it's important in whatever state you're in. And so this is also another place we could remind them of that. Again, you can see that in the past weeks. Okay, so we're going to move on. And now we're going to go into Ikigai. That was the second thing. Is anybody in this group familiar with Ikigai? Just raise your hand if you are. Phyllis, yes. Soturis, yes. Cool. Okay, would anybody like to share what they know about Ikigai already?
Actually, you're showing the slide, so it's
I know,
easy.
I was going to say I should go like this. What do you know about Ikigai?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me? We hear you, Phyllis.
I think there is something wrong with
We
my
hear
internet
you.
connection.
Oh, we hear you. We hear you. Are you okay?
Yeah, but with my internet connection is not stable again. But
oh, dear.
It would be easier with the slide. But I use it in coaching. Sometimes when people are not happy with what they're doing, I ask them the questions related to Ikigai approach, like okay, thank you, what they love, and what their strengths and what they're good at. And what they can be paid for, and sometimes what they can be paid for can be an assumption, because if they're going after something that they haven't done before, it's a big question mark if they're going to be paid or not. And what the world needs is related to the demand of what they will be doing, and also I think it helps to connect to a higher thing, which is related to spirituality.
Exactly. So I think this is a beautiful way to actually look at our purpose. We're giving structure to this purposeful webinar or seminar or workshop, whatever it is. Ikigai comes from Japan. It means whatever makes you get up in the morning with enthusiasm. It's combined the words iki and ge, what it's worth, and what life deserves to be lived for. So this is directly linked to your purpose. According to the Japanese, we all have one, if not several, inside of us, and it changes over the course of a lifetime. So it's a wonderful coaching tool. We're going to use it today in the workplace because alignment with our purpose breeds resilience. That's where we started this all. So today we're going to actually do Ikigai to help identify what allows us to be happy every morning waking up. We're going to do this in 4 sections. So we're going to go through all 4 of these today. One is what you love. And to do that, we're going to realign with our values. Number 2, we're going to look at our passion, your profession, and what you're good at. Look at number 2 to the left. That's discover your strengths. And I use this a lot in individual coaching, by the way, guys, often. Number 3, as Vidhi said, what you get paid for or your vocation. This is what we talked about earlier, Kathy, with aligning with your job and your employer. That was the McDonald's and that alignment. So this is the number 3. And number 4, aligning with the world, what the world needs. Important to know what you can be paid for, maybe paid in money, maybe not. That's just an important thing to have clear in our minds. So this workshop, we're going to go through these 4 things with exercises and coaching to the people in the room. Once again, for the benefit of creativity, you can choose to do this over 4 weeks and do 1 a week. You could do four 1-hour sessions and do 1 a week, and then build it up week 5 and bring it all together and have them make a vision board and move on. You can do this in a full day seminar. You can do this with breakout sessions. You're going to see as we go through each one of those 4. I think that beginning section that we had with the breathing and the alignment of mindfulness, again, you can block it out in any one of the sessions we would be running. So far, so good. Are we ready to move forward into 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay. Just yell if there's anything's too fast or if you have a question or a comment. Our values. So here, typically, I would ask everybody, what are values? I'm sure you're all coaches. You work with values every day. We all have different ways of working with our values. I'm going to share with you the way that I love to do it in a group session. And I've done this with lots of coaches before. I'm not taking guys all the time to run through every exercise fully with you, because I know you know how to do this. I'm showing you the deck and how we might do it with clients, okay? If you want to go further on something, just stop me. But otherwise, I'm going to move quickly for the benefit of you getting the mode, the flow, and you can ask the questions you need to ask. Are we okay with that? Thank you. Great, great. So I would ask, what are our values? And we would come up with a definition together. Principles or standards of behavior, judgment of what is important in life. And I know you all know this, so I don't have to teach you this. And then I say it's like a car. An alignment between your life and your values gives you satisfaction, happiness, and resilience. And misalignment, you go off the road and you have the great resignation and you quit your job and you leave early and you fall sick and you burn out. We're relating this again to the workplace. So it's really important, our values. They give meaning to life. They're essential drivers, but it's really good to review them regularly. So what I do, this is exercise number 1. I have and you guys can actually do this if you want. This is quite fun. I have everybody write down on a piece of paper your drivers and your drainers. So what are the things in life that drive you? It could be chocolate. It could be your kids. It could be your job, whatever it is. And you write them down and you give them 5 minutes or 10 minutes and they all write them down. And then I have you write down your drainers totally spontaneously. What's that stuff that sucks the energy out of you? It might be your boss. It might be lack of sleep. It might be your job, whatever it is. So we give people a few minutes to write this down very spontaneously on a piece of paper. So they get a pen and they write it down. By the way, when I do this, I usually have my Spotify right next door and I put a little jazz music. So they have music. And then when I stop the music, it's like musical chairs. Everybody puts their pen down. So everybody does their values and their drivers and drainers. And then they come back. Oops, sorry, I went the wrong way. They come back into the room and I had them do number 2 exercise right away. I said, now you've had that thought process. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go through this list and choose the top 10. These are values. This is a list of values. By the way, this comes from the PVA, Personal Values Analysis. Some of you might be familiar with it. I'll be giving you the link so you can set up your account for free and you can use this anytime. So again, I give them another 10 minutes, but separately from the drivers and drainers. They've got the 2 now. This is exercise number 2. And they give them 10 minutes. They write they circle their top 10 values. And then we're going to reflect. Now we're starting to get into the coaching. What did you discover about how your life aligns with your values and your drivers and drainers? So if they said that their boss was a drainer, and yet they value great leadership, there's a conflict there. And by going through those two exercises, they can match what the values list says and what's been driving and draining them. It's a very powerful exercise. And then based on this, what needs adapting to feel more aligned? I'm going to go one more slide and then we're going to stop and ask some questions. So typically that's a coaching opportunity. You can put people into small groups. You can have breakout groups. People can look at their values together. There's even, they could do that 10 values online. I'm giving you all the link so they can do their PVA. You can actually give them 15 minutes to do it online and they come up with the result. Or before the webinar, they could actually do their PVA, personal values analysis, and come with the result and then compare it to their drivers, their drainers, and their daily life. So this is a super powerful exercise. It could be as short as 5 minutes, as long as 2 hours, this particular exercise. It's re-identifying my values, my drivers, and my drainers and seeing where I'm at. So again, there are lots of ways of creating a coaching opportunity here. And I like to end this number one, which is our values, choosing 3 values you want to live more fully. What could you start to do to demonstrate that more fully? And what could you stop doing? So this is the coaching around values. And I think we're done with values. Yep, that's it. So let me stop there. I went really fast. You may or may not know the PVA. I will be giving you the link to the personal values analysis, which actually gives you, you just go run on your phone or into your computer and you can get your score, what your top values are. It's super well done. You can create your own account for free as a coach and you can use it with your clients. So curious, if any of you have worked with values before, how do you find this short little exercise I ran you through on values?
Yeah, I worked with values with a coach of my own a few years ago. And one of the things I like is that you've got somewhere to start. You know, the coach I had, and this worked for me, but it wouldn't work for everybody, just said, well, you go figure out what your values are. So I did it between, I did it between sessions, you know, and had to Google and whatever. And it worked for me because I'm that kind of person. But there are other people that just aren't going to do that. So I think this is a helpful structure. It gives them a place to start. And if they haven't given any thought to this, it's not easy to start doing.
Thank you, Kathy. I totally agree. And I would say that the method that your coach worked with you was great for one-on-one, but you can't bring that to the workplace. They won't accept that. So what I did the last time, I did this for about 50 people at Pandora, you know, the jewelry company, and they were working on this and I had them do it as pre-work before they came. They all went on their computers and they did the values analysis and they printed and they got their report. And the report explains what those values mean to them. And it's really detailed. It's very well done. I learned about it during my master's degree. It's made for everybody and it's free of charge for everybody. And you get a report in your mailbox. So people actually had a chance to reflect on it before they came in, which meant, you guys, that as a group working together as a team, they were able to compare in breakout groups. Oh, I didn't know that was a value of yours. Oh, that's a value of mine. And what can we do in our team to make so that you can express that value? Like, let's just say, I don't know, getting home early from work is really important to one person. And it came up in their values, like, I don't know, work-life balance or something. And I had that at Price Waterhouse. There's no work-life balance. They're working 12, 15-hour days. So when these things come up, if they've done the work, it's really interesting, but super interesting to do drivers and drainers, which are totally spontaneous. You didn't have to think about them. They come up automatically and you don't call them values. People don't know what values are. So I agree with you, Kathy. We do something spontaneous, which is drivers and drainers. You know what drives you and drains you. And then you compare it with something scientific and you come up with something you can actually do something with. Who else has thoughts on this?
So from me, this section, I think I'll, just because I'm certified with the strength deployment inventory, so it's very similar work. So I probably would just weed that, like tweak it to pull that in. Yeah, because that's an additional service.
Well,
but
there
yeah,
are
it's
two.
neat.
Do you do the Barrett strength assessment? Is that what you do?
Sorry, was that for me?
Do you do Barrett's? Do you do Barrett's?
No.
Okay,
Mine
because I
is
have the strengths assessment is further on in this session. This is the values. I just saw you had value center because that's what Barrett's is also called.
So sorry, the one mine talks about it. Yeah, there's values and strengths and it's
Okay.
all. Yeah.
So if
I probably would just.
It would be interesting to look at both and see which one fits better into the way you want to deliver it. I actually do both and I do them separately, the values and the strengths, just because I'm following the, I'm just going to go back a few slides. Well, that's the next thing is the strengths. It's number 2 on the Ikigai model. So I go one by one. The values, we start with the values and now we're going to do the strengths. So I'm interested to hear how that compares afterward, Hélène. Super interested. Thank you for putting that in the chat. But I think it's this, is that from me or from you, that one? That's from me.
That's yours, yeah.
That's my link. Okay, I thought it was your link and I'm like, wait, it's the same as mine. Perfect. But again, you're gonna get all the links in the show notes as well, everybody. Any other thoughts on this before we go into number 2, discovering our strengths? Let's move forward, interrupt anytime. So the strengths bit is what you're good at. And in order to know what you're good at, you have to recognize your strengths. And once again, this changes throughout a lifetime. So if you were strong at something 20 years ago, it might have changed today. So it's always worth reassessing this. And I kind of do it the same way in the sense that I start with a group work where they're very spontaneous, nothing scientific. We get together in a small coaching group or pairs or threes, however you want. In the workplace, it could be by teams. And you answer these questions. What would your partner or favorite person say are your top 3 strengths? What would your coworker say are your strong points? And what have you created and brought into the world that you are proud of? So again, we give people time. Depending on how long you want the session to be, they do this exercise as a group and they discuss and they come back. And then they come back and we ask them, what are the 3 strengths that come to your mind for yourself right now? And we have each person write down 3 strengths. Very coaching, we're narrowing things down. We keep it small, we keep it manageable. We don't want to try to overthink things, do too much. And then again, you can do it in small groups. You can do it in a breakout. You can set goals at that point. You can set SMART goals, action steps, if you feel like it at that point. And there's also, and I've put it in the notes, there's a strengths finder. You could do the strengths finder during the session. It's long. It's about 30 minutes. Now, I do it in sessions when I have a full day and I give people the time. People don't tend to do it for homework if it's 30 minutes. That's the problem. So I don't tend to give it ahead of time. What I do in this case is I put it in the notes and I say, go home and do a strengths finder and see how close it is to the 3 you came up with spontaneously in the group. So again, I use Barrett's for this one. And it's a strengths finder. It's excellent. Again, it provides a whole report for people that they can work with. If you're an individual coach and you coach them individually, have them come with their report and you can go through one by one, decide what strengths they want to work on and work toward whatever they're working on. If you're an executive or leadership coach, it's a great place to start. Gallup also has a strengths finder. There are many out there. I tend not to do it in a group session because it's a little bit too long. I do more the spontaneous work. So we've just done strengths. And then how does that compare with your strengths work?
Yeah, I think you can, it's very similar and I think people can use, I'm just going to take advantage that I'm certified with this other one and invested in it and just build it in. But I think it's great for, we don't, we all have different backgrounds, and so this one is
what I like that you're bringing up is the fact that, I mean, we have lots of different tools. What this webinar does is it gives structure to it in the context, again, come back to reality, the workplace. And this is week 3 of the resilience of, my food, my body, my sleep, my alignment, myself. If we just randomly come into a workplace and say, I want to talk to you about strengths, they don't get it. We are completely contextualizing this in the well-being and the performance of people. So I think this is really important. The tools, I'm giving you some, we're giving you structure here, but you can absolutely use whatever tools you find most useful or you're certified in or whatever. Is anybody else certified in strengths tools?
Actually, Ellen, I'm using a VIA character survey for strengths and Barrett for values.
Me too.
I don't know that. Yeah, okay, great. And I try to use the formula like performance is equal to potential minus the limiting part.
Very good. Limiting belief. Mm-hmm.
And on the limiting belief side, I use Shirzad Shamin's saboteurs assessment. It's a great tool.
I know it very well.
You're not using it. Shirzad Shamin is the old
Positive
CEO.
intelligence.
Yeah, CTI, and that assessment is also great. And I'm trying to work that formula at the back, and I just give them a brief information about what we're doing, the inner game. Yes, we have a potential, but something is just eating out our potential and trying to find that part.
I really like that you bring positive intelligence into it. I bring that into my aging workforce workshops. That's, again, I'll repeat for you all, if you don't know, Shirzad Shamin, it's PI, positive intelligence, and the intelligence quotient, the positive intelligence quotient. It's a very good training. You can do part of it for free. It's just another tool you can use because, again, having positive intelligence in the workplace is very, very important. Again, I chose to focus on the strengths, but you can totally bring that in. I love the idea that you're trying to put together a formula. I don't know that anybody's done that quite yet, but I love that idea. It's a great idea. So Tiris, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Cool. Anything to add here in terms of values or strengths? Have you ever worked with values and strengths?
Yeah, actually, I've used the assessments that you mentioned before.
Great.
For personal use and for on a group as well.
Great.
It was fine. It gave me a lot of food for thought, actually.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think you're right, giving you food for thought. This webinar or workshop that we're structuring right now, it really is the tip of the iceberg, and it can be the open door to get you individual coaching afterward, or continual coaching to deep dive on each one of these 4 sections. So again, we're opening up the doors to something that will come next. We are on number 3 of our Ikigai, which is aligning with your job and your employer, what you get paid for or what you work for. So again, this piece, being out of touch with a sense of purpose is a leading cause of stress. Again, the links are there to the business case. Those with a divine sense of purpose get better results and are better leaders than those who do not. And defining your purpose at work keeps you motivated, focused, satisfied, and aligned. So again, we're pulling this all together. This is a wonderful model from McKinsey. And I'm going to quote what McKinsey says: when employees have a chance to reflect on their own sense of purpose and how it connects to the company's purpose, good things happen. The relationship between the individual and their purpose at work. So look here, we have 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is the purpose from the organization. Again, think of McDonald's. This is the corporate purpose, the company culture, the employee experience. It's really that the organization can control directly. Number 2 is purpose from work, engaging with and progressing at work activities that provide energy and meaning. And then 3 is purpose outside work, So that's caring for family, volunteer, and other activities. So it's important that all three of these be in alignment and none of them be off. That 1 and 2 is especially important, and you can work with teams on this because they don't always think, they think the job and not the employer, or they think of the employer and not the job. Here, we're really trying to align both. And to do that, we have them break out, again, this is a coaching moment. We have them break out in groups, and they have 3 questions to reflect upon to align your why with your job and your company why. So, purpose from the organization. How do you do things differently from others? If all of a sudden McDonald's said that they had no artificial preservatives and all of their food was it was the healthiest in the world, and that there were no artificial ingredients, let's just say, you might shift your mind because you're doing fast food differently than the others. It's a silly example, but it's just the one that came to my mind when we started today. Purpose from work. How do you make a difference in your role? What do you love about your job? Again, we talked about that person at the cash register at McDonald's. She might be dressing up differently every day and meeting the same clients and keeping a really great cash register and keeping things clean and tidy and beautiful. Who knows? We all have a different place to find our purpose. And what do we do outside? And how does question number 1 and number 2 align with your values and strengths? So now we can start thinking, well, am I aligned with what I'm doing? Am I expressing my strengths? Am I living my values? That's a huge question, question number 3. We're really bringing this all to the surface for people. Again, this is a coaching moment where you can have people go out into breakout rooms, get 1 by 1. They can discuss with each other. I'll come back to that slide. I should have a coaching slide here. They can discuss with each other. They can do this in teams. They can come up with team commitments here. So in terms of this alignment piece, are there any questions or comments on this bit here?
I've had some experience where once people do this work, they realize they need to change jobs.
I know.
And there's a part of them that is holding them in place. For some people, that's limiting beliefs, like Felice said. For other people, it's money or health benefits, in the US are very tied to the job, and things like that. And so then they have this realization, I actually can't change the company or the job.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to figure out how to move on. Mm. And that's a big shift.
It's a huge shift, but it's a wonderful coaching opportunity for you, isn't it?
Yeah. And I've seen people get through it, which is really rewarding. It
is so rewarding. It's very interesting, Kathy, what you've said here, because usually when I run this webinar, and it was interesting because I ran this webinar and she only wanted this question, she only wanted to do this part of the Ikigai. She didn't want 1 and 4. We did gratitude as well, but she didn't want the other ones. And we spent 90 minutes with her team on this. And she knew very well. But the problem was they had so many people quitting. She had to figure it out. And rather than let them keep leaving, they did this as a group and they understood all of these separate things and they were able to create the job that allowed that to happen. And you'll see we have some team commitment things at the end. So it's revelatory. And again, you can make this as short or as long as you wish, but we're only planting the seed. Very, very interesting. Any other thoughts bubbling up yet? Aligning with the world is part 4. And aligning with the world is understanding that there are many ways. We talk about positivity here, building on our strengths, doing satisfying work and using our talents. So this is everything we've been talking about up until this point of the webinar. Following your vocation, your calling, and your purpose. So we ask the people to actually start thinking about this as they move forward from today. And the exercise we have them do, again, you can do this in a group, they can do it individually. What are 3 ways that you can align with the world that you can think of now? This is actually a really good exercise to do in a plenary where everybody throws ideas in, especially if they're all working for the same company. They all come in and all of a sudden, again, I'm going to use the McDonald's example. They're coming up with examples that as a team, they're going to volunteer to feed the poor, or they're not going to waste and they're going to take the waste and they're going to give it to somebody or whatever. But all of a sudden, even though they didn't love their job, they make it lovable. So they don't need to quit. They can stay and they can make it lovable because they are addressing their strengths and their values, and it becomes important to them. So this is a really powerful piece to do with the team. Again, coaching opportunities, small groups, breakouts, goal setting, etc. And then once we've finished with kind of the Ikigai overview, we've done all 4 sections of the Ikigai. Everybody's thinking about their values, their strengths, aligning it with their job, aligning it with their purpose. They're thinking about the world outside. What can we give back? Because all of this is helping them align with where they're at today. We do a piece on gratitude. And the reason we talk about gratitude, you as coaches, you know this, but we explain it, that the research shows that it is the single most powerful method of increasing happiness and well-being. And if you look at all the things that gratitude affects, emotions, social dynamics, career success, health, optimism, materialism, self-esteem, sleep, longevity, energy, exercise. Look, we're linking back to what we did week 1 and week 2. Emotions, resilience, mood, friendships, marriage, employee experience. We're really tying the bow here. We're pulling all of these weeks together and saying, okay, so I'm waking up now. This is really becoming very holistic. And I love to do a gratitude exercise. I explained the gratitude gap, which is that almost 70% of managers believe they are above average at appreciating good work, and only 23% of employees agree. This comes from the work of Chester Elton with the gratitude. I've got the link in the notes for you all. What's interesting is this same proportion, it's at home, like parents and kids and parents and wives. Like 70% of parents believe they're above average at appreciating their kids, but only 20% of the kids agree. And husbands and wives, it's the same. Very, very interesting statistics. So once we get that, it kind of shakes us up and says, yeah, maybe we should be doing something with this. So question, my friends, what's the difference between recognition and appreciation? We're in gratitude here. Who knows the difference? So Terry,
I'll take a stab at it.
Go for it.
I think of recognition as things that are like tangible awards where, maybe you get an award, employee of the month, and everybody finds out you're employee of the month or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or maybe there's money attached, maybe there isn't. And appreciation, I think of more as in the moment, and maybe one-on-one, or if you're a manager and you have a team, maybe you're appreciating the team in the moment for something, but it's not necessarily more informal.
Exactly.
Doesn't necessarily come with any monetary benefit associated with it.
Mm-hmm. Or any material benefit. I totally agree. And that's exactly what it is. Exactly, Kathy. You got it right on the nose. And that's what the photos show as well. Recognition is giving positive feedback based on results or performance, special notice or attention, standout moments. Because gratitude, just saying thank you all the time, that's not what it's about, especially not in the workplace. Appreciation is acknowledging a person's inherent value, feelings, expressions every day. And in the workplace, we need both to create a workplace culture that keeps people loyal and engaged. So again, we're really bringing this back to the workplace. We're bringing this back to a pragmatic approach to really connecting all of the employees and aligning with themselves, their job, and with each other. Recognition can be limiting, just like you said, Kathy. It's performance-based on the past. It costs money or something material. So it's a lot of people are vying for a finite something, and it's usually from the top, like the top down. It's promotions, it's raises, it's the management that's giving down, usually. That's recognition. Whereas appreciation, it's limitless. It costs nothing. It builds trust. It validates. It shows understanding. People feel heard and seen. It's meaningful. And of course, it's free. So it's really, we need a mix, but it's appreciation. And here I would challenge the group and I would say, you know, how are we doing this in our company today? Where are we getting recognition? Where are we getting appreciation? We could do breakout groups. We could do teams. We could have bosses and employees. There are lots of ways we can get the discussion going here. And you can actually promote this as a coach. And then from here, I have a wonderful acknowledging gratitude exercise that people can do. So the idea here, because gratitude, it lessens the heaviness when there are issues. And when people are stressed, we talked a lot in week 1 and week 2 about stress, managing resilience, mental well-being. This is the buzzword in the workplace today. We want to increase energy, help people get through challenges, and create space for new views on a situation. So this particular exercise, people usually do it in groups of 2. I like it with 2. 3, it gets a little bit more personal. And what people do is for 1 minute, they think of a current challenge in their life, something that they're really kind of stuck with. Focus on how they're feeling and tell the other person about that thing that's bothering them. And then together, they think of something good about that issue. This is like positive intelligence, Felice. This is looking, you know, it's the 3 things. It's coming up with the positive things that might come out of this situation. Close your eyes and focus on the positive thing you came up with that other person. And then notice how you feel with that new decision and try to tap into that feeling the next time the challenge comes up. And then you change places and the other person tells you their challenge and you exchange. The idea here is that they understand that by actually acknowledging a challenge, coming up with something to be grateful for within the process of that challenge, they can shift their mindset to handle it in a more positive way. By doing this with a colleague or a teammate, they actually create a bond within the group. And this is something they can take home with them and do in the future with their teammates or with their colleagues. So the idea of the gratitude piece, again, there's a second piece to it. With that same person, we now express our appreciation. So thanks for being there. Thanks for listening. Be very specific and tell them how they've added value. So what we're doing with these different exercises is we're getting people to get into a gratitude frame of mind. And by now in the workshop, they probably are. They probably know each other a lot better. They've shared a lot and they can actually express it. And so by the time we're done, we now ask people how they feel. And always, they feel better once they've been through a gratitude exercise with the given and they've received gratitude. And then after that, we have a discussion. What form of gratitude or appreciation align with your values? Okay, we're going back to our values. And what form of gratitude appreciation align with your company's values? So again, this is super powerful because we've worked them through gently through the whole thing. And now we can actually even start making some team commitments to this because we understand each other's values. Coaching opportunity. And I think that this is where I'm just going to see, I'll come back to this one. Yeah. So just up until that point on the gratitude piece, are there any questions or comments? I have a few more slides I want to share with you on this one. But is anything bubbling up for anybody up until now? Okay, I'm going to go right to the end of them. So this is, again, something that I share with people. Actually, I have mine right here. Look, I have mine right in my drawer. So this is, I call it Rock the IO principle. So I encourage people in the workplace to have these on their desk. So an I and an O. The I question, it's on your desk to remind you all day, is what have I done that I'm really pleased with? And what have I told myself? Am I proud of myself for something that I've achieved today? And what have others done that I'm really pleased with? And have I told them? And actually having the stones or some kind of a thing around allows you to actually remember that throughout your day. I have it always on my desk, so I kind of remember to say, in the workplace, I actually sometimes arrive with a box of rocks. And if they have a corporate color, I'll get them purple or whatever their corporate color is. And I give everybody one at the beginning. They don't know what it's going to be for. And throughout the week, they actually put it on each other's desk when they have an appreciation. So the little stones like go around the office, and it becomes their gratitude practice, their appreciation, gratitude practice. Again, we give some tips to show gratitude. What are some ways to do that? The gratitude rock, saying thank you, gifts, acts of service, words of praise, apps, postcards, a gratitude board, journals, all kinds of things, and a shared experience. And again, coaching opportunity here. Come up with 3 great ways to show gratitude next week in the workplace, and you go into breakout sessions and they come back and they share all their ideas and they choose the best of the group. And then moving forward, your team or your self-commitment. What are 3 ideas you can implement as a team immediately following today's session for gratitude, appreciation, and recognition? And all that aligned with the values, the strengths, and doing something for the world. So then we give them a moment of inspiration and we kind of wrap this all up and moving forward. So this is the last piece before we go through the workbook. And before we go through the workbook, I want to open up for some chat and discussion here. What they will go home with is the recreation manual, which is the workbook. I will show you in a minute. We encourage them to put into one action or inspiration of today to observe their state, discover mindfulness, practice breathing, practice gratitude. And here are the links for the character strengths, the personal values analysis, and then there are some really good articles that give the business case for this. They both happen to be, no, the first one is by McKinsey. The second one, I forgot who it's by. It's not written there. We have to click on it to see. And then we end these 3 weeks where we realign with our 4 nutrition, activity, sleep, and mindfulness that are all brought together with this alignment with our purpose and our resilience. And we hope that people have discovered what we started out with at the beginning of the webinar. And they have their takeaways, which are the slide deck, the recreation book I'm going to show you now. And I always offer a discovery session personally, and I would encourage you to do the same so that they can actually maybe move forward with individual coaching. I'm going to quickly show you the workbook and then we can have a chat. Always a disclaimer at the end of my slides, what I allow you guys to do with my slides and what I prefer you not do with my slides. This is what the recreation workbook looks like. There's one each week. So week 1 was nutrition, week 2 was sleep and activity, and week 3 is all about the alignment. So a little welcome message, and then there is a spirituality checklist. There is the stop reminder, the mindfulness tips. There's meditation tips, deep breathing exercise to prevent stress, 4-7-8 technique that we will have probably practiced, the alternate breathing that Hanai was talking about earlier, the quick breathing there technique, inspiring thoughts about life purpose, how you might better focus your time and energy, a gratitude checklist, daily gratitude minute, and then further resources. And I think that's the last slide. Yep, that's it. So you guys, voila, week 3. I would love your thoughts, how you see this rolling out, how you see it in function of week 1 and week 2, and any questions or sharings or thoughts.
I think it's the perfect closure to the first, oh, sorry, my camera is.
That's okay.
Can you see me or not?
No, we don't see you.
So weird. It looks, okay. I try to figure out.
There you are. There you are.
No, it's the perfect closure, I would say. I mean, like for the first, because the first two are more tangible, I would say, and then this one is a perfect combination of everything. So I really love it, and I like also the stones reminders. It's a really good one, because I think even in meditation, or sometimes they say, you know, set something to remind yourself to be mindful, or even mindfulness, sorry. Something that triggers, you know, like this process. So I think it's super valuable, this example.
Thank you, Hanai. Ellen, I'm curious, because again, as I said many weeks, I have delivered these 3 workshops, let's call them workshops, three sessions in hundreds of workplaces, always in a different manner. And I love this order where I start with nutrition and then body and sleep and then this one. But you can absolutely mix it up as you see fit. I'm curious, Ellen, because we talked about the order. How do you feel now that you've seen week 3 about the order and the lineup?
I think it would, for corporate, it would definitely flow better. I think you may not get the buy-in to start with what the content for today, and especially if you have the same group throughout, you just want to establish, kind of gradually get to today's content so that there's more openness and rapport building. Yeah, so I think it's a nice flow, and I suspect, you know, as you said, you've done this hundreds of times, and you've probably
though I am surprised, and I will share with you happily, companies today are asking for number 3. It's like the 1 and the 2, they've done that for years. Like the 3, they're losing people. They need people to stay. They need people, it was Kathy was saying. So they're actually asking for this purpose for resilience. So you may go in and only do week 3. You may be, and I went in to do week 3, and she asked me for like part 2 of Ikigai of the week 3. And that's all she wanted. She wanted them to have 90 minutes to talk about their values and how they aligned with their job and their company. That's all they wanted to do. And she wanted 2 hours, and they left with a buddy that they had to come up with a team plan, and they were going to do that in-house. So isn't that, there are many ways to
yeah, which is great, that the flexibility.
Feliz.
Ellen, for some reason, I thought starting with week 3 maybe better, because it's like an umbrella, and the meaning and the and knowing about themselves may give more motivation take the information from the first 2 modules. Just some,
but it could be, imagine, I agree with you. What if in their values, they find out that they value physical exercise, being in shape, and losing weight? Let's just say that comes up in their values, and they're like, I am doing I'm sitting all day, I'm doing nothing. I need a nutrition workshop, I need to buy, and I totally agree with you. And there's no right or wrong here. It could be that, and I think that's up to us as a coach. to be listening, which is why I put this together as a signature program so that you have a full package and you can pick and you can do it a la carte as your client's request. And the business cases are there. You've got the research, you've got the exercises, and then you can tweak it and play with it as you wish. I totally agree with you, Felice. I'm glad somebody said that. Really glad.
Yeah, and apart from that, actually, the content of week 3 can make them feel that they're in the right place. They're not hearing the same things. They will be hearing something bigger, and then they will get connected to the content of first week and the second week, or first module and second module better. Just a thought. I don't know. I don't know what's right.
There's no right or wrong. And one client, nutrition is going to get you in the door. Another client, purpose is going to get you in the door. So I think we need to be completely open-minded about that. Sutras, I'm really curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that a good idea could be to, after going over week 3, go and revise week 1 and week 2.
Totally.
And most probably the conversation is going to be deeper for week 1 and week 2 after having week 3.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And Sutras, who typically are your clients? Who is your ideal client?
Basically, I'm doing one-on-one sessions.
Okay, great.
And now I'm into corporate wellness, but it's just the beginning. And I'm trying to figure out how to go into corporate wellness and have a really good offer for the.
Great. This is exactly what I've created this for. This is exactly, you're the exact kind of person. So the idea here now is we've been calling it week 1, week 2, week 3, because we have done this week 1, week 2, week 3, and next week 4. But the idea is that I am giving you all of the material and the content. Next week, we will explore the different ways of using this content. For example, week 1, I have rolled that out in a 6-week program before, just week 1. And then week 2, I've rolled it out into a 6-week program. You could also use this, for example, such as in your case, you go in and you do one free workshop. You take week 1 and week 2 and you whittle them down to one hour awareness session. And then you get individual clients from there. You say, if you want to go deeper on that, I will work with you one-on-one. Join me for a discovery. It's instead of having all those discovery calls, they get to know you, they get a feel for the content overview in an awareness session. So you remove some slides, you give them a little workbook, but then they realize they need you to go forward. So that's another way of playing with the materials. Yep. Nicole.
Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, whatever. I really, really think that week 3 was really informative for me, because I did think about corporate, I had always thought about corporate health and wellness coaching and how to maneuver that and how to present it. And I just feel like just using my peers, in corporate world as, a case study, stress at work is like a burning building, and people feel, especially like, I think Kathy, you had mentioned it, because we're in the States, everyone's stuck. We have people that are working, like we have people that have no idea when they're going to retire, because it's like, it seems so far-fetched. They feel like they have a plan, and coupled with the health benefits not being part of it, it's like, what you're thinking. So now people have to shift and say, okay, if I can't retire, then what could I possibly do that I love to do, that I can make money doing, that won't be so taxing, won't be so stressful, that I can continue working? Because maybe what, 2 generations ago, where people were 55, 65 and said that they could retire, my peers can't even envision that. And most of them that are able to retire, it's like, okay, so that was job 1. So now what am I going to do job 2? So I just feel like, yes, nutrition and how I can talk people, I'm into fitness, so they're blue in the face, but they can't even get to that because the building is burning so fast with the stress level, and they feel like they're stuck because they cannot get out. They have no time to find other jobs. They have no time to redo their resume. So it's just a slippery slope. Like, I'm just stuck here. I'm just really stuck here, and it's killing me, literally. It's stressing me out that my health is really being affected by it. So I think that week 3 has been amazing so far.
I am so glad to hear that, Nicole. And it's very interesting because the work that I do in the book that I wrote is for people over 50. And I actually use the same drivers and drainers and values and strengths exercise with people of that age. And that might be a niche to think about, because you're right. People, 50 is the new 80. And people, they're leaving corporate between 60 and 65, sometimes because they have to, but they need to refine themselves. They need to resource themselves. And there's this fine balance between, I need the energy and the sleep and the right food to appear and to have the energy to find a new job. But I need to have a job that's going to feed me mind, body, spirit. I need a job that I can give to where my strengths are valued. An older person does not have the same strengths as a younger person, but they don't have less. They usually have more, but different, and they're not aligned with that. So helping them to nudge forward on that can actually help them create a new life purpose. Very important as well, Soteris, for information in the workplace. I work with a lot of outplacement companies where people are unemployed, and they don't know what to do. And we want to get their health ready because it's the first thing they let go when they're unemployed. But as health and wellness coaches, if we can work on the values and especially the strengths at the beginning to build their confidence, we build up their confidence, then we can start working through the health and wellness so they're energetic, so that they find that new purpose and job. So I think your point is very well taken, and you're right. Your parents aren't alone. It's such an important market that I actually wrote a book about it. That's exactly what I wrote. It's called Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive, How to Lift Up Your Life in Your 50s and Beyond. It's the name of my book. So it's exactly.
Oh my God, that is so on point, because that's my peers. Now their kids are gone, they're empty nesters, their job was their life.
Yes.
And so that is another reason why people can't really remove themselves, because it was a form of identifying themselves.
Identification,
so then when you can no longer identify yourself with it, it's important now that you find, okay, what I can do and what do I feel comfortable explaining what I do now, because part of your work life before may have been part of your identification. So
Nicole, and all of you, if you have someone in this situation, if you just go one step further, we do the strengths analysis, we come up with their strengths, and then you can do exactly what Nicole just suggested. You say, okay, Felice, we just discovered that one of your strengths is public speaking, whatever it is. And then we say, so Nicole, Felice, tell me more about this public speaking. How can you tell Sotiris when you go in for an interview that you're good at public speaking? Let's practice. And then you have her practice that. So she's got the words. You've worked as a coach. That's a wonderful opportunity to coach her. You don't need to be a career coach to do that. We can actually use the skills you've got and the kind of tools we looked at today. So it's very interesting, Sotiris. I say that to you because in the workplace, a lot of people are losing their jobs right now, and we can capture that audience. We can even offer to the corporation, rather than they get just outplacement, that they get something much more holistic. They can do a lot more with what they got in session 1, 2, and 3 than they get from somebody helping them write their resume.
I just have one question though, because I think one of the biggest struggles when you're coaching someone, it's easy for me to identify, actually develop, and I'm guilty of it too. I was in fitness for years, and people used to tell me, you should do this, and you don't believe, or you're so fearful of it. And so finding those traits when you do these exercises, people are going to have the epiphany, oh my gosh, but they're still getting over the fear or getting over the belief that they can truly do it, is where I feel like is a challenge as coaches.
Kathy and Hélène, what do you say?
I've definitely experienced that with some of my clients. I kind of handle it differently depending on the client, but one guy that had some great success is that he had to do the values work and the strengths work like we talked about, but he was struggling to kind of translate it into a resume, into a job search, into getting to where he wanted to go. So